Hello, Bookish Babes, and welcome to my book nook. If you're new here, my name is Rainey Barton. I'm an elementary music teacher and middle school musical theater teacher by day. I'm also a booktuber extravaganza with my millions of bookshelves and all the things. So that's what we do on this channel, as we talk all things books, especially thriller and horror. But I'm also into romance, a bit of historical fiction, and I'm starting to find myself liking fantasy and sci-fi as of these days. So if you're into that, click subscribe, like, share down below, join the family. It'll be a great time. But in today's video, we are going to be talking about the worst books that I read in 2021. Now, I'm going to be fair and say this. I feel like I say this in every video this year. I've only read 26 books. And at this point, if you haven't watched any of my videos, it's because I just started reading again in November. So at the end of next year, I'm going to have a much bigger list of books to pull from. So I don't really have that many worst books of 2021. Because honestly, out of the 26 books I read, most of them I really enjoyed. There were only a few that there were only 2 that I hated. And then 4 that I kind of was like, about, like, and not even because there are books on out of my 26 books that you're not going to hear about at all that I just, thought were just middle of the road, solid books, Such a Quiet Place by Megan Miranda. That was a solid book. The Secret Lives of Church Ladies by Philia, I believe. Those books were fine, and there were a couple like that, that were just okay, but they weren't the worst, so I'm not going to mention them in this one. And then they're not the best, so I'm not going to mention them in the best video. Also, if I'm wearing a jacket, it's because it's very cold in here right now. Anyway, yeah, so let's just dive into these 6 books. It'll be super short, sweet, to the point, and just my worst books of 2021. Okay, I lied. So there's not even 6 books, there's 5 books. Can't count, Rainey. Anyway, number 5 was my most recent read, and it was One Day in December by Josie Silver. You know, I thought this was going to be good, but it was just no. It fell very flat for me. And I can't say why, because that would ruin it, but I just hated the ending, and I think our main character is kind of a terrible person, if we're just going to be honest here. Anyway, so it follows, which I can't even remember these characters' names because they just bother me so much. I think it's Jack and Lori. So, and Sarah, who I loved Sarah. So it follows Sarah and Lori are best friends. And one day, Lori sees this guy while she's on a bus. He's at a bus stop, and their eyes lock, and she immediately thinks that he's the one for her. But the bus goes on, and she doesn't get to see him again. And she searches for him for a year. A year later, her best friend Sarah is introducing her new boyfriend to her, and she finds out it's the same guy. It's Jack. She's dating her dream man. And so, of course, they both know this about each other, but they're not willing to do anything until eventually they are willing to do something about it, but, not actually commit to being together. And so, that's not really giving away information, because that's the whole point of this book, is that they just spend 10 years basically pining over each other and wanting to be together but not. And then it's just the main character Lori just does some really shitty things that I just can't get on board with, especially towards the end. It's just decision after decision after decision. I'm just why are you doing this? You are a terrible person. And it's not that I love Jack either, because I think Jack's kind of the worst person, but yeah, I didn't like this book. I didn't. And I'd be okay never reading it again. It just was not, no. And that's why it's number 5. No. Let's talk about number 4 for the worst reads of 2021, and that was The Ex Talk. I can't remember who that's by right now. I'll pop a picture on the screen. Anyway, I don't remember characters' names, so I'm just going to call her Mary and him John for this. Whatever. Anyway, it's Mary and John. They both are radio hosts or they're not actual people that speak on the radio. They're producers or things like that. And basically their radio station is not doing very good. So I believe she pitches the idea of doing a podcast where it's the Ex Talk, where it's an ex couple gives relationship advice to people. And it would be funny because it's exes doing it together. And so of course her person in charge thinks that would be great, and he thinks that they should do it together, the girl Mary and the guy John, because they hate each other and it would be really funny, and they could act like they're exes. And of course a romance sparks because of that. And then there becomes this point where there's one promotion that it's kind of like the hating game situation, where there's a promotion and only one of them can get it, and they're falling in love and all of this. Anyway, I thought it was very cute. I thought it was very sweet. The reason it was one of the worst for me is because the ending was just no. No. I didn't like the ending. I thought it fell flat. I thought that they took a lot of power away from her. I felt the whole producer guy was just a big douche and he didn't get what was coming for him. No. I was very mad at how this ended. Like, I read it and went, why? Why did you do that? Why? And a lot of people like this book. And I'm not saying I hated this book, but I would be glad never reading it again. Like, let's just say what it is. Like, call a spade or whatever that saying is. I'm just not about it. And that's all I have to say about it. The next one, which was very much a letdown, number 3, was the Ex Hex by Aaron Sterling, which I have right here because, actually, funny story, we're potty training with it and he peed on the book, which is not good, but I was going to be getting rid of it soon anyway, so you know what, there it is, what it is. But this one is about Vivian Jones, and basically she gets her heart broken by this guy way back in the day, 9 years ago. And she, you know, has vodka and weepy music and bubble baths, and she curses her boyfriend, but she doesn't think that it's actually a curse. And then Reese Penhall, that's the name of the guy. He's the descendant of the town's ancestors, and he returns to Gravesglen, Georgia 9 years later to, like, restore the ley lines, like the witch lines. They have to do that every 100 years. And what should be a quick trip to recharge turns disastrously wrong, and she realizes that she might actually have cursed him after all. And so, of course, it's like a love story about them reuniting and getting back to one another. And it's supposed to be a witchy romance and, like, all of the things. But they needed at least 100 more pages to tie it up in a way that it should have, and the romance was cringy. I didn't feel the chemistry between them, and they just rushed the ending so quickly that I was just, like, not content with it. It just did not live up to my expectations at all, and a lot of people I know have DNF'd this book and said it was awful. And I wouldn't say that it was awful, I just would say that I didn't enjoy it, and I will never read it again, and it's easily forgettable. And that is my thoughts on the Ex Hex. Now we're on to the second worst book of the year, and that is Nothing But Blackened Teeth by Cassandra Khaw. And I'm very sad about this purchase because it was $20 for this purchase. This little hardcover novella, 128 pages. Like, I had seen it going around, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm even worse because I bought this after I watched 3 of my favorite YouTubers say they hated this book, and I still bought it. Why? Because maybe I wanted to see for myself, and maybe I just wanted to own it because, like, yeah, but I should have listened to them. It was terrible. So, ideally, it's about a group of friends that go to, 2 of them are getting married, and they take their friends to go to have their wedding at this haunted mansion in Japan, where this ghost bride is there, is haunting the place. Anyway, that should be signal enough you shouldn't go there, but whatever, you do you, boo. And so, like, it was just the reason I hated it is because I feel like 80 pages of it was just them bickering back and forth. And I think it's really funny because one of my favorite YouTubers, Gabby Reeds, she actually shared, like, commentary from this. And, like, it was just so funny, like, how bad it was. Like, it just, I don't know. It was just terrible. It was stuff like, oh my god, like, I'm still in love with you. Why are you here? Why did you invite this person? This girl's a basic bitch. And, like, things like that. And it was terrible. Anyway, so it was like 80 pages of them bickering and fighting, and then maybe like 10 pages of like the actual ghost bride doing shit, and then like 20 pages of them just like trying to move on with their lives after this stupid idea of going to a Japanese haunted mansion. And there was hardly any horror in it. I wouldn't even really classify this as a horror because it was just, no. It was bad, and I would never read it again. Yeah, I don't agree with this state either. It says, Nothing But Blackened Teeth is a sharp and devastating exploration of grief, the parasitic nature of relationships, and the consequences of our actions. I do agree that, like, the nature of these relationships sucked, but I would not agree with that statement at all. It was just bad. Just bad. Bad. We've made it, fam, to the big time, to the big reveal, which if you follow me on Instagram, or you've watched other videos of mine at all, you already know this is coming, and you're prepared. My Heart is a Chainsaw by Stephen Graham Jones. Why, do you ask? Why is this my worst and my least favorite book? Because it sucked. That's why. Yeah, so I wanted to DNF it, but like I said, when I pay full price for books, and that's not very often, like, I don't pay full price for books almost ever. When I pay full price for books, it's because I really, really wanted the book, and I just didn't want to wait. Like, I was at Books A Million, saw this, and went, wow, I need this in my life right now because I've been wanting it. Anyway, that's why I read it. It's supposed to be this fun slasher novel about this girl named Jade Daniels and how she knows everything about slashers. She's obsessed with slasher movies, all of this, and she decides that a slasher is happening in her hometown and that she has to train up the final girl. The final girl is the one that, survives at the end, and she has to train her up so that they can stop this slasher from happening. And when I say, like, I'm an intelligent person, like, I was gifted, I have a very high IQ. I didn't understand what was going on in this book. Like, the writing was beyond so confusing to me that I just kind of sat there and had to reread things multiple times, and I still didn't understand it, and I felt stupid. Like, I really actually felt stupid at one point while reading this, going, is this just so beyond me that I can't understand it? But, no. Lots of people had that problem. I've derived from reviews I've seen on Goodreads. And, like, his writing is just, you like it or you don't, and, I don't. I also thought it was incredibly boring. By the page 300, because this book is 400 and, let's see, actually, it's right under 400 pages. Yeah, it could have been, like, 150 pages shorter. Up until, like, page 300, nothing had happened. Like, literally nothing. And it's, like, more annoying because the very opening chapter is like, holy crap, this is going to be amazing. And it set it up to fail because after that, you don't get back to, like, the slashery part until, like, 300 pages later. And so this was, no. I really hated this. And I don't know if I want to read The Only Good Indians after this or Night of the Mannequins by him, even though, like, I've heard those are great because, like, this was just so abysmal. I just wish I could take back the time I spent reading it. I hated it this much, and I'm so disappointed because this was one of my most hyped reads, like, one of my most. And Books with Lala, Kayla, as we know, is my favorite soul ever, and she loves this book, and I just ask why? Why do you love this book? How can you teach me to appreciate this book? Because right now, I'm just like, goodbye. And those were my worst reads of 2021. So like I said, there was nothing too crazy. There was only 5 books. Like I said, I read 26 books, and so there weren't that many that were bad, which is good. I had a good reading year overall. But I hope this was interesting. I hope, I would love to know if you read any of these books and what your takes were on them. Like, did you really like them? Like, do you have any hot takes on these? What is your worst book of 2021? I would love to know that in the comments down below as well. And then stay excited because we are going to be soon adding a best books of 2021. So this will come out first, and then we'll do our best books of 2021. And I have a lot more books to add on that. I think I have 13 for that one that I really, really, really enjoyed this year. So with that, I will see you guys in the next video. Bye, guys.